Metro 2033 was a refreshing experience for the fans of post-apocalyptic genre. And Metro Last Light is just the continuation and more of this experience. In this video, in part 2 about the Metro series, we're going to be reviewing Metro Last Light and whether it is worth it to buy right now or not. So let's just get it started. And as always, I'm not gonna be wasting your time and giving you the answer right away whether Metro Last Light is actually worth it or not. And the answer is Metro Last Light Redux, which is kind of like a remake, remaster, or whatever it's called, updated version of the Metro Last Light, is absolutely worth it to buy. If you liked Metro 2033, it's practically Metro 33, but more of it. I cannot say that this is a revolutionary upgrade in every single way, but it is just an updated, better version of Metro 2033. And you're continuing the story of Artyom and whatever was happening in the first part of the game. And especially for the price of this game is asking you, despite this game also being very short, this game is absolutely worth it to buy. But now, let's get into the details. So what even is Metro Last Light? So Metro Last Light is a direct sequel of Metro 2033. Which is happening in the year 2034. And just like in the first game, the game is happening in a Moscow metro or subway of, well, 20 years or rather 21 years after the world has ended in a nuclear fire. And it will be very difficult to talk about this game without spoiling the first game. But you know what? I will not be spoiling the first game because I'm pretty sure, because there is a chance that you came here without actually playing the first game and want to know everything about the trilogy itself. So yeah, I'm not going to be spoiling the first game as well. So story-wise, after the events of the end of the first game, which is the bad ending, there are two endings in the first game, you will find out that you actually did not do a very good job at the end of the first game, and you need to finish what you started and continue playing as an Artyom. You are going to, well, finish what you started and you get quickly captured, and now your goal is to free yourself from this capture and find out whatever the hell is actually happening and find a possible way to fix what you did in the first game, or just ensure what you did in the first game. Yeah, this is the best I can say without actually spoiling it. And story-wise, to be fair, this game is better than the first game. At least I liked it a bit more. The characters are a bit more fleshed out, and the world here is a bit more interesting because you are more involved into faction wars here. Here the faction stories are much more interesting because it's much more fleshed out. You are meeting the Reds, you are meeting fascists, and you are meeting all those crazy, wacky factions that has been operating in the metro and fighting in the wars against each other. And it's a bit more interesting than it was in the first game. Plus, you have a lot of different characters, you have a bunch of different double crossing, you have your love interest, of course, as it should be in every single game. And story-wise, it's a bit more interesting, and it's not as straightforward as it was in the first game. And yeah, you are taken into this very interesting ride alongside Metro and finding yourself in a very interesting situations. And yeah, world building is a little more fleshed out than in the first game. And yeah, this is actually a very great thing because in the first game it was very fleshed out as well. But what about the gameplay? How it actually feels better or worse? And to be fair, it feels a little more modern. It still feels a bit outdated. The graphics still feels outdated. The gameplay still feels a bit old. But to be fair, it feels a bit better here than it was in the first game. Because the guns, weirdly enough, handled for me a little better. I cannot explain why it did handle a bit better. Because yeah, in both games, it's just spray and pray. Because yeah, guns are awful in both games. But here it felt a little better to operate guns. I just played both games side by side, one after another. And yeah, here it felt a bit better. Stealth feels a bit better as well. You have more control over your environments and just stealth is a little more viable option here. The variety and the mutant creatures here, variety and mutant creatures here is a bit better, and you have different ways and different kind of enemies to fight against, including the boss enemies. And the overall, this game feels the same as Metro 2033, but better, which is not a bad thing. It's actually a pretty good thing because if you're playing right after the first game, you will not feel that you're playing a different game. You're just playing a continuation of the same game, which is a bit better. In my opinion, it's actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty good thing. The world is a bit better, the dialogues are a bit better, you hear more conversations between your allies and even your enemies while you are infiltrating different stations. The enemies are reacting a bit better, the AI is a bit better, to be fair, but still, AI is pretty dumb as well, unless you're playing on a hardcore or on ranger mode, because AI is tend to flank you more. So you need to be playing the mix of stealth and open combat. It will be very difficult for you just to go in open combat. The bullets is still the rare resources, but to be fair, I did not felt that I was running out of bullets all the time. Maybe on some guns, but usually I had plenty of bullets and to fight my enemies, and it was rare for me to run out of bullets, even on higher difficulties. But I usually tend to explore more, and that maybe was the reason. If I didn't explore more, maybe I would have a bit of more problems with the bullets. But the world here felt a bit more fleshed out. You felt more need to carry more filters with you while you are outside, because yes, I didn't talk about it in the first game, but you need to carry mask with you to go outside, and you need to change the filters constantly. You have more need to charge your flashlight here, because yeah, you actually are using light against your enemies, because some enemies are afraid of light, and you need to actually constantly charge, and you have your portable charger with you. Portable, by portable I mean the hand charger, not your power bank. And it felt a bit more of a survival game than the first game. Yes, you had a lot of those things in the first game as well, but here it kind of felt more needed right from the beginning of the game. But what about the downsides? Are there any downsides here? Yes. And the downside of the game is actually the same thing as it was in the first game. It's a bit outdated graphics, even in the Redux version, even though it looks pretty okay for me. It looks fine. It does not look very old, but for some it might be an issue. I know that it's an issue for some. And yeah, I realize it's an issue. I don't think that it's a valid issue to have, but I know that some of you will have it. And it's also pretty short. It takes around the same time to complete this game as the first game, which will take you around 8 to 10 hours to complete this game in its entirety. But just like in the first game, the length can be forgiven if the price is right. So, is the price right? How much the game will cost you? So, games available on Steam for the same price as the first game, $19.99 for tier 1 countries and $12.59 for tier 2 countries, and can go as low as $3.99 for tier 1 countries and $2.51 for tier 2 countries. It's practically exactly the same price as the first game, and the price is dirt cheap. Because of its amazing world building and pretty good story, game is absolutely worth it even for the full price. But because the game is old, you will most likely encounter this game on the sale. And yes, if you are encountering this game for $4 or less, don't even wait for it. Go and get this game. It's an amazing single player experience that you, well, should experience if you are a fan of the first person shooters or are the fan of post-apocalyptic settings. This is just more of Metro 2033, and in this case it's just a little better, a little more polished, and a little more fleshed out than the first game, even though first game was pretty amazing on itself. So yeah, go and get this game because you are going to enjoy this a lot, especially if you're gonna play it on higher difficulties. Well, this will be it for today. Thanks for being here with me. Like the video if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. See ya.